Here we are, our first live ever. Welcome, you derelicts. Looking forward to having a conversation with my longtime mentor, friend, confidant. But before that, let's do this.
Welcome to the Derelict Podcast. For the disparaged, depleted, and delinquent souls trying to find our way, we're talking about the scary part of the journey, where we don't know how it'll end. Let's be free to face our fucking failures in real time as the most unadulterated, truest version of who we are. No sugarcoating. Welcome to the shit show, you derelict.
All right, welcome to the Derelict Podcast. I am your host, Josh Tomioni, and we have a very special guest here today. My dear friend, a mentor, a coach, a confidant. He's done all of the things. Lawrence, thanks so much for being here, sir.
I'm really glad to be here, and happy birthday, Josh. Really.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I thought, we talk about this a lot, right? We talk about healthy activities and unhealthy activities, and I'm sure we'll unpack that a little bit more today.
Totally.
But when I was thinking about my birthday, I was like, could there be a more healthy activity than me going live for the very first time on YouTube in Riverside with one of my dearest friends and mentors, Lawrence? That seems like a healthy activity to me.
Awesome.
I don't think I missed anything there. So yeah.
Right on.
All right. Well, it's good to be here. So when we were talking about what we were talking about, I was kind of under the idea of talking about the importance of coaches and mentors, people that are in our lives that can help us through difficult things, even if we already know kind of how to get through those, maybe on our own. There's just something about having a third party, having somebody else that really knows us, that can speak into our life to really be able to look at that. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. And I thought, what better way to do it than one of my longest standing mentors and friends and coaches, Lawrence. And if you ask Lawrence, and I'm sure this will come up later today too, Lawrence is a very, very humble guy. So he's probably thinking over in his head, oh, you've taught me things too. Yeah, we know, Lawrence. But you're a very wise man, and I've gotten a lot out of our relationship. So a couple of things that I think would be really helpful for anybody that's watching live right now or watching this later on. Thank you so much for being here. We love being able to just try this out for the very first time on my birthday. I don't think we're having any technical difficulties yet. So I think, yeah, exactly. I think we're making it work so far. Yeah. So appreciate you all for that. Couple things that I think would be really good for us to talk about today. We talk a lot, Lawrence, about addiction, sobriety, recovery, things to do for your mental health, your spiritual health, even your physical health. Maybe we don't address that one as much, but we talk about all these things a lot. And I guess maybe just for everyone here, I want to introduce them to you a little bit first.
Sure.
So can you just tell maybe a kind of a brief story of how you got into doing this sort of work? How you got into the place where, hey, I want to mentor and coach and, just help a bunch of guys.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for that. And and thank you for letting me be here and being part of this wonderful podcast. Been really leaning into listening to podcasts, but I've been listening to yours, and there's a lot of great information. But the way that I came into this was definitely through recovery. When I realized that I was powerless and I needed to find something else to help me along. And that part of that being in recovery is being of service. And so being of service meant to be a sponsor. And at first I failed at sponsoring. I was like, my sponsor said, you need to go sponsor all these people. And I was only like step 3. He says, you're on step 3. You've completed that. Go. It's like a video game. But it's like, yeah, level up, go get some sponsees. But I was so disorganized with my time and my codependency started showing up, and I wanted to be the greatest sponsor ever. My ego was there, but it's like, I didn't want to do the work. I didn't know what the work was. And it wasn't until years and years later when I dropped all my sponsees, I said, I need to learn how to be a good sponsor and be a good friend. That's all there is to it. And then I started working on scheduling and saying, these are the times. We open with this, we do a share, we do this. It became very, very structured. To this day, it still is with a lot of my sponsees, but it depends. So that's how I got into, I guess you would call it mentorship or sponsorship, being able to give back by giving my own experience, strength, and hope, and not really. And the other last part is that I didn't want to coach them. I really wanted just to hear their experience and just relate it to mine and say, yes, I have done that too. And yes, I have been there. And this, maybe we can both learn from this. And if you do that enough times, you know that the change is coming. And hopefully that will happen with them as well. So, and that's the long-winded answer for that.
Yeah. So you actually said a couple interesting things that I want to touch on, because we've been talking about this a lot on the podcast recently, and that is just different roles that people need at different times in their life. So you're talking about specifically sponsorship within a 12-step program, which is how we met. And maybe that is different than a coach, which you mentioned, right? And then that is also different than a therapist. So maybe could you break that down a little bit for people in your world? Like, why does one need one versus another? Why do you
definitely
need multiple? Because, I'm talking to you. You're a sponsor in the 12-step program. I'm a coach. Neither one of us are therapists, but we've both been to therapists plenty of times and had that therapist experience. So maybe for people watching or listening, what would you say is the difference? How do you know when you need what you need?
Yeah, there's differences. It's kind of a Venn diagram, it kind of like one bleeds over to the next. I think for coaches, they're the people that, it's like, you're the student and you want to hear, and I get to do it with a transactional way. Coaches are people that show up. They either show up, and give you advice, or you are trying to ask for advice. And there's something very specific about coaching. And I've heard it in the rooms where, for therapy and recovery, it's like I go to recovery. Well, I go to therapy to find out the trauma or the wounds that have happened to me, how people harmed me. And then I go to recovery to see how I've harmed others. And so that's it's the basic thing, but it's I'm in recovery to find out how I've harmed other people and to do the proper amends, do whatever it takes to, to stay sober during this time and to have deep realizations. And therapy is about everything that's been in my past that has shaped me until now.
Yeah.
And then again, like I said, coaching is a specific, it's like going to grad school, right? It's like, I'm going.
I love that. And I love that you add it. So not that long ago on the podcast, I was talking about therapy versus coaching. And I often make a similar comment to what you just said. And therapy is about looking at your past, your trauma is what often people call it. The things that you haven't moved past yet, right? The things that you haven't dealt with yet from your past that you need to deal with in order to move forward. So it seems like therapy, again, is looking at past traumas, past difficulties, past things that you need to work on. And then it's maybe not a graduation, but at the same time, they could be in a 12-step room with somebody like you, a sponsor, who's helping them specifically. This is not just what added to the fact that they're now living in this addiction. It's now presently focused on the addiction. Right. And then the coach comes in kind of after that, or maybe at the same time of that, saying, okay, that's great. You've dealt with all the stuff from the kid as a therapist, right? With the therapist. And then you dealt with the addiction stuff, presently with your sponsor and with 12-step. And now how do you move forward? That's how I see coaching. Because, when I went through, and you were there for a lot of this, but, after I went through my divorce and got into recovery and started working on myself and going to therapy and all these things, I didn't do any of those things before 6 years ago. I didn't ever go to therapy. I grew up in a family that thought therapy was a complete waste of time. You only go to a 12-step meeting if you're so strung out on meth, living on the street and you can't do anything else, right? Like the idea of there being some sort of recovery or 12-step for love or sex or overeating or, some of these more insidious addictions was just not there in my household growing up.
Yeah, definitely.
And I very much also grew up in a household of like, just figure your own shit out. So why would you need a coach, right? Like just do whatever you're supposed to do. My grandpa always used to say, pick yourself up by your bootstraps.
Oh, yeah.
Try again, right? You fall off the horse, you get back on the horse. I'm like, I didn't even grow up with a bunch of cowboys, but it sure seems like I did.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but it's like I'll add that Venn diagram piece as well. I mean, therapy, once you get like working on the harm that's caused from your past, and then if you go to the same therapist or more therapy, then they can become coaches, right? Just like anyone in 12-step recovery. I mean, I've had so many, like my sponsors that I've gone through, it's like they'll give me a piece of information from their past that just like, it is like coaching. It's like, oh, you've just told me what to do without telling me, tell me what.
For sure.
You don't have to tell me anything. You just,
I love
answered.
Yeah. And I love the Venn diagram analysis as well, or visual, I should say, because it also really depends on the therapist. It really depends on the coach. It really depends on the sponsor.
True. Yeah.
Like I remember when I was, I had been going to therapy for a few years now, dealing with all the stuff I'd never dealt with. I was in my mid-30s at the time, didn't deal with anything till my mid-30s. So it took a while.
Yeah.
But I remember distinctly after going for a couple of years, walking into my therapist's office and saying, okay, I'm done with the past now. I think I even told you this story, right? When this happened.
Yeah.
I just walked in. I was like, yeah, I'm done with the past now. So unless we're going to talk about presently what I need to do to move forward in my life, unless we're going to move into that coaching element, then we're done.
Right.
And I think that is really important too, that I just want to say to everybody listening and watching right now, because as much as I'm distracted right now, sorry, give me a second. I'm just distracted because something turned on. I'm trying to turn off. Okay.
Yeah, right.
The beauty of live.
Yeah.
I would really encourage everybody, if you see a therapist, maybe you're in a 12-step program, maybe you have a coach, maybe you have something else, maybe you have a mentor or a pastor or a friend, somebody that you feel, mentors you along. I'd really encourage you to look at it kind of in these buckets that we're talking about. Is it dealing with your past? Is it dealing with your present? Is it dealing with your future? Because I think that there's a lot of overlap, like you said, Lawrence, where you could do all three. Like a therapist could look at your childhood traumas, say, well, how does that affect you today? And then how does that get you to version 2.0 of yourself? But I would say 80 to 90% of therapists don't do that. They're very focused on the past in order to make you a decently healthy present, versus a sponsor is trying to make you a healthy present into the future, and a coach is doing the same thing. So I guess I would encourage anybody that has one of those people, try to figure out, what are you actually trying to focus on right now? Because I know for myself, I went through my divorce. There was a lot of difficulty in business, and all these other things just popped up, and I needed a deep dive on my past at that point in my life.
Right.
I really needed to go back and be like, yeah, what is all the childhood shit that led up to all of this behavior that I want to act out, and all these different things that I don't feel are me, right? So therapy was very needed for me in that. And then, like I said, at a certain point, it's like, okay, now I want to work with Lawrence. He's going to mentor me with the different things, the different ways that like my addiction loves to come out.
Sure.
And then I hired coaches myself, even though I am a coach, in order to get me to that next level. So I really like the Venn diagram. I guess that was a long-winded way of saying I really like the Venn diagram, especially because of the fact that depending on the therapist, coach, mentor, sponsor, etc., that could look like a very different Venn diagram.
Exactly. And you bring up a good point about you have to advocate for yourself in all three areas, no matter, you don't have to, but it's like I took a passive role for many years of just letting people it's like, this is what you should do, or this is from your past, and now you need to do this. And that caused, friction and maybe some resentment because I wasn't ready to hear all that stuff. But it's like when I come in prepared and I'm advocating and have agency for myself, then that's that layer of like getting a deeper understanding for a brighter future, whatever you want to know, but getting deeper into who I am at my core, that authentic person that I need to be, because really in reality, nature does it automatically. When I feel like I have a lot of pride and my ego is there, something comes along and just not decimates me, but to reminds me hey, remember that you are this, and that you're not that in a bag of chips. And then if I'm also I'm at my lowest, then all of a sudden someone's there to bring me up. Right. And some people don't have the resource for them. So they go off the deep end, they commit suicide, they fall into a very long depression. But it's but there are people there in my life. And it doesn't even have to be in a person. It could be a person, place, or thing that uplifts me so that I am balanced again. Nature always tries to find a balance for me. And I have to remember that sometimes it's going to look like a therapist. Sometimes it'll look like a sponsor. Sometimes it's going to look like a sponsee. Sometimes it's going to be a person on the street that just smiles at me, So anyway, I'm got off on a tangent, but it's really about agency and advocating for yourself when these situations arrive where I need to go a little bit deeper. I'm very conscious of what I need to learn or what is there that is going to be revealed, and be very open to it. So, yeah.
So let's sit on that for a second.
Yeah.
What have you found to be helpful? Because I already know the answer to this question because we talk about this a lot and you've given me a lot of insight here, but what would you tell the audience? How do you get yourself open? What if somebody is listening to this right now and they're saying, Lawrence, this makes a lot of sense to me. I think there's definitely some things that I need to pay attention to, in my own life, but I don't feel open to it. Or I don't feel like it's actually happening. Besides getting a therapist, coach, mentor, we can, obviously that's the obvious answer, to have somebody guide you along this. But can you think of any just practical steps, things that you do to just open yourself up to just receive whatever you believe you need to receive?
Yeah, there's plenty of ways. It is, for me, in my experience, is about being self-aware, and it's not like some new age term. It's just the only control that I really have in this life is my breathing. It's so if I take a breath, it's this is something that I can actually control, and I can breathe in and breathe out. That's where it begins with me. And then everything else is not about control. It's this is beyond my control, but knowing that I belong, and being just being, and being 100%, this in that my core. I'm going to go into the 100% core speech. It's we are walking around with being beautiful, 100%, loved by something that's larger and not human than me. It's blunt force love, right? And the thing is that I've grown up with these layers and blankets of trauma that I've wrapped around me that I feel comfortable with. And then I can touch other people who have those same blankets or their same layers of trauma, and we can trauma bond in some ways. But I have to remember that I am 100% beautiful to the core, loved by something that's human, that's larger than me. And I can see that in other people through the layers. All right. The worst villain in the world has a core of they belong here, they love, right? So when I start from a place of that core and my breathing, then it's it becomes, everything else balances out. Everything is much easier. And all I can do is have people around me, whether they're paid coaches or paid therapists or free, service sponsees or sponsors, that they're the people that I surround myself. So I am who I am with in a lot of ways. And then I can be of service to those who don't have those resources. I'm getting off the track here, but so
this is all gold. And it's, the other thing that you just said, which again, I've been talking about a lot here recently too, is that you are who you are with.
Yeah.
Right. Which is So, one of my other coaches, my business coach that I have right now, said something the other day that I thought was really good that I'll share as far as this goes. So, there's that old Harvard study, which we've referenced on the podcast before, where this guy went out and he surveyed all these people and he basically said, well, what makes somebody successful? And the answer was the 5 people that hang out with the most. And of those 5 people, a lot of that led with number one person. So if you're in a marriage or a partnership, et cetera, it's usually that one person is, maybe that's the 80-20 rule.
Right.
For us single people, I don't know if there is a one person, right? It might be more evenly distributed, at least for myself, among those 5. But my business coach made an interesting observation about this the other day. And he said, it's not just the 5 people that you spend the most time with, but that you surround yourself with the most. He said it's the 5 people you allow to influence you the most. And I thought that was really key. Because as an example, if I take the 5 people I surround myself with the most, 3 of those would be my kids. Because I see them all the time, right?
Yeah.
Not all the time, but as much as I can based on my parenting schedule with their mom. But those 3 children, yes, they do influence me a lot, but they influence me in different ways than somebody like you does. But I spend a lot more time with them.
Yeah.
So I think that this is just something interesting for people to think about. Actually, do me a favor. If you're watching this right now, well, you are watching this right now or listening to this right now, whether it's live or not, do me a favor. Get out a piece of paper and just write down the 5 people, maybe the 5 people that you spend the most time with, but then more importantly, the 5 people you think influence you the most. So I did this exercise the other day when he said that, Lawrence. And I like to do this exercise every once in a while. And it's really interesting if you do it several times throughout several years, because then you get to see it change as well, right? But I did this exercise the other day, and 3 of the, you made the list, by the way, so welcome. But 3 of the people that were on the list are people that I surround myself, that I spend a good amount of time with, people like you, Lawrence. And then 2 of the other people were people I've never met. And I thought that was really interesting too. Yeah. Because one is just a guy that Tony Robbins, I've talked about him plenty of times on here. I go to his conferences. Mm-hmm. I see him often, etc. But I've never met the guy, not once. But he's had more influence on my life than, almost anyone in the last 6 years, just through that. So I guess I wonder, while you're in this process too, Lawrence, because of the fact that it's the people that influence you, how do you, as a mentor, sponsor, coach, etc., not just turn into all the people that you're trying to help? Does that make sense?
Did you say turn? I mean, your volume is a little bit low, so either my speakers aren't working very well. But turn into the people, or
more that. Here, let me make sure my volume's working okay.
Yeah, it's up for a little bit, but
weird.
Welcome to live.
I know.
Welcome to live.
Hey, Science, will you do me a favor if you can hear me? Will you just try to turn up my volume if you can in the studio? That'd be great. Basically what I was asking is, so one of the things that I've struggled with this concept, Lawrence, of having the 5 people, that influence me the most, is what I've struggled with over the years is that I'm a pretty loyal, faithful guy. So when I have a friend, I want to keep that friend forever. Mm-hmm. Have a girlfriend, I want to keep that girlfriend forever. When I have a wife, I want to keep that wife forever. When I invite somebody into my life, it's really hard for me to let go or to move on or to transition. Right. And one of the things I found in my life is that I end up having a lot of people in my life that need a lot of help. That aren't frankly giving me a whole lot in return. So sometimes I struggle with, how do I make sure that the people that are influencing me around me are the ones that are really encouraging me? We're all growing together, etc. This is not anyone's better than anyone else thing.
Right.
Like if I'm hanging out with myself from 6 years ago, I don't want to hang out with myself from 6 years ago.
Right, exactly.
I've done a lot of work to get to that next part. Does that make sense?
Right.
So I guess I'm just curious from your perspective as another mentor, coach, person that helps people, how do you help all these people, but then also still get the influence?
Yeah, no, that totally get it now. I think I'll begin with like the 5 people, right? And those 5 people aren't the same people all the time. Maybe one will stick around and the other 4 will go on their merry way. I think the feeling is that I feel that like it's a flow, it's a river, and we need to just be with the people. I mean, they represent the same type of person. 10 people can represent the same one person giving me the same advice, and they're flowing in and out of my life. So I get flowing on this river. I'm just going in with the flow, and then these people help me when I get stuck in these little eddies and whirlpools in the river. And then those 5 people will show up. It could be one person, it could be up to 5, it could be a lot of people, it could be a stadium full. But it's like it just is whoever shows up at that time, and allowing and accepting the fluidity of life to happen by allowing these people in. Now, when I don't allow these people in, and it could be from a very good reason, I don't feel safe with this person, or, but it's never from a place of ego, like they can't teach me anything. It's like everyone can teach me everything. And if this non-human thing that's larger than me is putting people in front of me all the time for specific experiences, not for a test, not for a reason, when they put that person or people in front of me, then I'm open to it. It's like, oh, this might be a signpost. And sometimes a signpost is toxic relationship. It could be a healthy relationship. It could be something that I need my pride to go down by being humbled, or I need an uplifting to balance up so that if I feel like I'm down, this person can lift me up and lift me up even higher than I thought. But being aware and open to this group of people, say like I've got 9 sponsees right now, and we all have very scheduled times to meet. There's something there where we can uplift each other, and knowing that it's like, this is going to happen. These are the 9 people that I count on every week to talk to and learn more about myself.
So real quick, for those that aren't familiar with 12-step program, can you just talk a little bit about what it means to be a sponsor and a sponsee?
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, so yeah, talk about sponsorship.
Yeah, just talk about basically what that means to be a sponsor.
Yeah, I mean, basically, it goes, all the way back to AA. I'm in SLAA, and what for me is I'm looking for someone to be a sponsor. I listen to people, I go to meetings, I listen to people whose story really resonates with me or has some type of power, but it's like, it'll be revealed to me, by higher power. It's like, and then I sheepishly go to them and ask, hey, this is, are you sponsoring and stuff? And then learn how to keep moving on, because it's such a supportive place. But once I do find a sponsor, then their job is not to fix me, Their job is to just work me through the 12 steps of whatever program I'm in. And that's it. In fact, they don't even have to be there for any of them except for the 5th and the 9th step, because they kind of require someone else, and it doesn't even have to be a sponsor. So that's another thing. But when I become a sponsor, it just depends on which step you've gone. It could be the 3, it could be all of them. And then I can find someone as part of my 12th step, which is the service step, and I've transformed. I can go and if someone's looking for a sponsor, raise my hand, and then we talk. Or someone comes to me and says, I really like what you said. I believe in what you say, and or I believe, that I have the same story as you. Would you be my sponsor? And like I've told all my sponsees, it's like, this is not a power play. This is just because I have more experience, strength, and hope or more experience, at least in the program, that I can help you work through the steps. I'm not here to advise. I'm not here to coach. I'm here to uplift you and to help you through struggles without being codependent, and just be there, and this, so that you can train to pay it forward and be a sponsor yourself. So I hope that answered
it. It does answer the question, and I love the way you described it too, because a lot of the things that you said, actually, I feel similar about being a coach. And one of the things that you said that I feel very similar about is that I'm not here to fix you.
Yeah, right.
Right? That's not my job. You and your higher power, whatever you want to call that thing, is what fixes you.
Right.
And that's true for everyone. I'm fully convinced that any sort of problem, issue, struggle, anything that you're going through right now can be solved by two things. And that is developing a more loving, healthy relationship with yourself and developing a more loving, healthy relationship with your higher power. Would you agree with that statement?
Wait. It's like it got your microphone
Is it the volume
super
thing again?
low. I hope it's not coming out like if people can't hear you on there.
I don't know.
But I can't.
I'll check with my producer again.
We go,
Mr.
Tech
Producer
check,
who's
check.
listening, send me a message that you can hear our mics okay. Or just tell us. I don't care if you come on and tell us too.
Yeah, for some reason it went even lower.
Let's see. Well,
But you can type the question in the chat and I can try and answer it. Oh, it's low on YouTube. Okay.
You're saying it's low on YouTube?
Cyanth, am I coming through? Okay. Okay.
Huh. Okay. So you can't hear me very well?
No, it's still really
Weird.
low.
Well,
I wonder if... So you got the mic? Are you going through a mixer?
no, it's directly plugged in and it looks fine on my system from what I can tell. So we're going to take a break here. Thanks for everybody that's watching. Have a technical difficulties break here for a moment as we try to figure out how to do this. I hope you're enjoying this. All right, we're back. And we're back. My microphone decided to start working again. My microphone just decided to stop working for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
Science, can you just make sure, let me know that we're back on YouTube as well, not just Riverside. Can you just shoot you're good on YouTube when you have a moment so that I can make sure this is working? All right, Lawrence, you can hear me okay now?
I can hear you fine.
I love technical difficulties on live on my birthday. It's my favorite thing on the planet. So
literal powerlessness, right?
Yeah, literal powerlessness. So speaking of powerlessness, you actually mentioned a comment earlier that I wanted to come back to at some point.
Oh yeah, right.
Where you mentioned so real quick, I'm rocking on YouTube. Cyanth, you're the best. Thanks. I love having a producer, man. I might have to have you as a producer like every single time I do a podcast episode ever. I'm gonna get spoiled here, not have to do all this stuff myself. Even though I have 5 screens in front of me right now. I wish that you guys could all see it here. Maybe I could do it on Instagram. Hey, Instagram guys, you want to see everything that I'm looking at right now? So there's that camera, there's the mirror in the back, and then there's the laptop. So that's what I'm looking at right now. And you guys are just staring at me, really bored. All right, we're getting back. I don't know if you guys have ever filmed anything before, but when you film something and you're ready to start again, you go like this. Yep. Oftentimes, it's a clap. So here,
there you go.
We're back in business. So, Lawrence, a couple things. I'm going to preface this a little bit. So you mentioned to me right before we jumped on the live recording that you had an experience of powerlessness this morning. Before you tell us what that was, because I'd love to hear it, let me just tell the viewers a little bit. Again, if you're not familiar, specifically, this is kind of 12-step language, but you could use any sort of language for this. This is actually, I would say, pretty true in pretty much any religion as well, which is where a lot of the 12-step stuff comes from. And it's really just a concept of something is going on. I'm producing some sort of behavior, or there's just something outside of me that I just can't, I don't have control over. I know for myself, I've spent many, many years of my life trying to grasp onto all the things that I could control.
Right.
And now I feel like the last 6 years has just been trying to teach me how to slowly let go of all these things and realize that I literally can barely control anything in my life.
Yeah.
There's very little that I can control in my life. I can control like what food I consume and how I believe about things and what I do. There's like very simple things that I can control, but even within that, I can't control. I can't control when I'm going to fall down next or when I'm going to fail next or anything else. So that being said, you talked about powerlessness. And I think for myself, one of my biggest things that has helped me in my healing and recovering journey myself has been learning to, again, like I said, just let go of that and realize that I'm not in control and to only focus on the things that I actually can control. One of which being my thoughts. I can control those. I can nip those in the bud, the really negative ones that come all the time, you guys. Like if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, Josh has got to figure it out. Lawrence has got to figure it out. No, we don't.
No, we don't.
No, we don't.
And thank God for that.
So tell everybody about your powerlessness example. I'm excited to hear it too. I want to hear it.
It was so funny. It's a literal powerlessness where the power went out.
Oh,
in the middle of the night. All right. So my partner took my car last night and I left my phone in the car. And so it's gone. Right. And so I woke up this morning and realized, oh, the power's out. And it's like 6 a.m. And I'm thinking, okay, well, nothing I can do about that. Just go back to bed. And then I start thinking, it's like, oh no, how I'm going to do this with Josh. It's like, I have no phone. I have no way to contact anyone. My router's out. The whole Wi-Fi is completely gone. But I could have gone into like a deep dark hole and just saying, oh my God, this is horrible. And it's like, okay, the universe, I have no power. I literally have no power. I can't call anyone, can't turn on lights, can't do anything. I could sit there and be depressed and, let the world fold in on me. But I just kind of woke up and thought, I'm just going to pray, do my breath and pray about it and know that I have no control over this. And then I started thinking of ways, well, I could go down to the coffee shop and use their Wi-Fi with my iPad and make sure Josh, oh my God, this is going to, but I wasn't panicking. I was like, just thinking of different ways of like, how do you solve a problem? Right. I'm powerless over this. So I am just going to like figure out ways. Well, I could walk all the way to my partner's house and get the phone. I could try and find a payphone. Where is a payphone? I don't know where a payphone is. I don't know where that
thing anymore. Are there payphones? I don't know. There's got to be one somewhere, right?
But they're like nowhere to be seen. But if I go to the coffee shop and use their Wi-Fi, it's like, oh no, wait, their power's out too as well. So I was completely on an island and I didn't panic. I just felt like, oh, I'm just powerless. All I can do is pray. And then the minute I realized, okay, I'm going to walk all the way down. I live in Woodstock. I'm going to walk all the way down Woodstock until I find a place that has electricity and Wi-Fi. The minute that happened, the power came out.
Of course. I love it.
I was ready to, I was like, okay, got my shoes, got everything. And then the power came back on and all was good. But that is an example of like literal, there's obviously more dire things that I can compare to, but it's like, that is like a form of powerlessness. That's like, oh, hey, by the way, you're human. You are spinning on this planet that's going 1,000 miles per hour. You're orbiting around the sun at 6,700 miles per hour. Your whole solar system orbits the whole galaxy at 51,500 miles per hour. And the galaxy is traveling through space at 2.2 million miles per hour. So it's like, that puts everything in perspective for me every single day. And just said, oh yeah, I'm never in the same place. And there's going to be places where I am completely powerless and I am not asking for power. I'm just praying for something.
Yes. And I love that. And it speaks to me too. And I want to speak to everyone that's listening or watching right now that's like me. And what I mean by like me is type A, bullish, get stuff done sort of person. Because something that Lawrence said and something that Lawrence always says always speaks to me in that. And I don't know if you heard it or not, but what he said was he woke up, he realized there wasn't power, and he prayed, right?
Yeah.
And again, it doesn't matter your religious background here. We're not talking about praying to a specific God. You pray to whatever God you want to pray to. You pray to the universe. You pray to higher power. You pray to whatever you call that. Everyone has a God. Okay, let me just pause on this for a second. I'm going to ADHD you here for a second. Everyone has a God, even atheists. Atheists have a God as well. Right. It's just that atheists generally tend to believe that their God is themselves. Everyone else that doesn't believe in that believes in something that's more powerful than us. And I would say most atheists that I've even pushed with this will also believe that there is something more powerful than themselves, unless they're a complete narcissistic, egotistical piece of shit. So for you narcissistical, egotistical pieces of shit, just turn this off right now. I hope I offended you. So that being said, what I loved about what you said, though, is that you didn't do something. Because my natural inclination always, when something is wrong or there's a problem, and this has gotten me in trouble in relationships, you know, being the typical guy fixer, right? Not that only guys do that, but I definitely do it. My immediate reaction in that circumstance is to jump out of my bed, scurry around like a crazy person, try to figure out what it is. Maybe it was, you know, try to call the electric company, check all the fuses, like make sure all the switches are on, make sure nothing's overloaded, right? Like do the whole thing instead of just, let me just take a moment and pray to my higher power that he can resolve this for me, because I'm on my buddy Josh's podcast today. It's his birthday. It's his first live he's ever done. I don't want to disappoint him. I want to be there to support him, etc. Right? I don't remember who said it, Lawrence. Maybe you do. But there was a famous, maybe he was a priest. Honestly, I can't remember. But what they said was, I start every day with an hour of prayer. Unless I'm extremely busy, then I start with 2 hours. And that just encapsulates everything that's difficult for me as a type A, get it done type of person. Because logically, when I hear that, I'm like, well, if I have a really busy day, I don't pray. I don't add an hour to what I don't already have an hour for.
You mean 2 minutes?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Not 2 hours. And oh man, like, you know, one voice for anybody that hasn't read or listened to any of his stuff, Eckhart Tolle has helped me with this a lot. Look up his stuff. He talks a lot about being present and just being in the now. He actually has a book called The Power of Now, which is one of his more popular books. And everything he talks about is just, how do I get as present in my body as possible right now, in my spirit, in my mind, so that I can just be absolutely present to this exact moment. And to me, Lawrence, you did that by prayer instead of letting that, like the freak out part of you take over, right?
But it's also, Josh, it's not about a prayer of a wish. It's just a prayer of calming acceptance. That's all it is. It's like, I accept that I have fears right now. I accept that the thought in my head is, I'm going to disappoint Josh. I accept that there is no power. I accept all of that. The game is about acceptance, not wishing for something better. I mean, that's what I've been conditioned all my life. It's like, in a very capitalistic, you know, American system, is like being able to, like, getting what I wish for, right? But prayer for me is not about wishing. It's about acceptance. And then hopefully that I can accept the person that I am in the moment to rise above what's going on right now. And it's not to make me feel better. Maybe it's to become practical. Maybe it's to just say, hey, I'm just going to throw this off and fuck Josh. I'm not going to contact him, and I'm just not going to do anything. I mean, it could be a lot of things, but it does, for me, the allure is about acceptance in the moment, and just giving up that prayer. So so it's like, I grew up Roman Catholic, and the whole thing was, it's like, if you pray, you're going to get something, right? And it's a reward system, and prayer to me is not, there's no reward. It's just about accepting, kind of like what you said, the power of now. There's, like, the Buddhist thing is like, there's no problems in the now. I can just like be 100% perfect and accept it in the moment. And then I can move from there to a new platform.
That's beautiful. I just want to repeat two things that you said. Prayer is not about asking. It's about acceptance. And there is no problem in the now. And I would agree with that. I heard a long time ago that there could not be any anxiety, fear, or shame in the present moment.
Right?
Because anxiousness or anxiety or fear, let's loop those together for a moment, is always about the future. Right? You don't have any, what anxiety do you have about the past? There's no anxiety about the past. You only have anxiety or fear about the future, like what could happen.
Exactly.
Or what if things happen differently than I expect them to, right? And then you take shame on the other side of that.
Right.
Well, there's no shame in the future because nothing's happened yet. There's no shame in the present. There's only shame in the past. Even if you just did something horrific that you're feeling shameful for, that's still in the past. Even if it was 1 second ago, it's still in the past, right? It's never in the present moment.
Right.
And man, the amount of times, Lawrence, that I've just had to remind myself of that in a difficult moment of like, look, if you are present to this exact moment right now, then you're fine.
Yeah.
Because you're fine in this moment. It doesn't matter what happened 3 seconds ago. It doesn't matter what will happen 3 seconds from now. You're fine in this moment.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. I like how you were saying anxiety is future. And for me, resentment is past. So, but where I am in the present, they don't exist, So
that's actually a really good point too. If we take resentment or shame from the past, because then it's either I'm either, upset at what somebody else did, resentment, right? Or I'm upset at what I did,
right.
or who I am, shame. But you're right. Either way is, you can't have that in the present. It's impossible.
Yeah. Resentment for the future. It's like if someone is like beat you down every single time and they're going to do it again, you can have this pre-resentment coming in, and anxiety comes from that. It's like I'm going to be anxious about someone who's going to cause me a resentment, right?
Right.
Yeah. But being in the now, it's like I can accept who I am, where I am, and in the place that I am. This is exactly where I need to be. And from there, if I can accept the moment, then a solution can come out of that, or from higher power, or whatever comes from that. But I get, it's like in the past, I would just get stuck in that place. And it's like I said, down the river, you get stuck in a branch, and it's like, I can't get out of it, or I'll keep hitting myself into the branch, or I'll keep going around in the whirlpool and not really see what the river is doing, So when I see the river, and if I get something I can push off, and sometimes it takes friction, and sometimes it takes just letting go, and full acceptance of, I can't control this. That's all it comes down to. I can't control anything, and I'm not entitled to anything, I am entitled to nothing. So all I can do is just be in the moment, find ways to push off from that and get back into the flow. Yeah.
That's good. So I know you don't exclusively, mentor, sponsor, etc., men, but I'm curious, since we talk about men a lot on this podcast, and we're talking about things that I think societally, like, men struggle with more, right? I think just in general, there's kind of this sense of, if a woman says, hey, I'm going to therapy, or hey, I'm going to the support group, or hey, I'm going to this victim group, there's kind of, I think societally and generally, we're like, good for you. That's fantastic. So glad that you're working on yourself. Create the best version of yourself. You do you, all these different things that we say. But then societally, it seems like in general, if a man says that, it's like, the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Like, did you ruin your whole marriage? Are you sleeping on with your wife? If I could even talk. Are you committing adultery? Are you sleeping outside of your wife? Like, are you an alcoholic? Do you have a problem? Like, it always goes to like, what's your problem, bro? And why don't you just fix your problem?
Right. Oh yeah.
I don't know why that is. I don't know where that comes from. And we could probably have an entire conversation about that. That's not necessarily the conversation I want to have with you. I'm saying in that society, though, what have you seen? Have you seen any specific problems or things that men struggle with in even wanting to do all this work?
Oh, yeah. We've all, I was brought up in the era of like, yeah, fix it yourself. You're supposed to be the man. It's the man, right? Even the government was the man. God was the man, So we've, at least from my experience, I've been conditioned to be the leader, the gotta fix everything, and not admit weakness. And just carry on like, no, show no emotions, right? It's like buck it up and all that stuff. Everybody knows that. And what was your question again?
Oh, my question was just any specific things that you're seeing men struggling with today.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, every time I walk into a men's meeting, there is always someone who is expected to, to bear up somebody else's problems and fix things. And then we're conditioned to like be fixing. We need to fix this when we can't even fix ourselves. And so it's like it's all Band-Aids and duct tape and, sticking, it's like, it's just nothing. There's nothing there that I can't give anything if I don't have it. Right. So that's what I see in a lot of meetings is that men come in because they've been conditioned to have nothing but to be able to fix things. And some of them have some things to work with, but like I said, it's mostly Band-Aid and duct tape,
I see that too. I mean, I even see this in my coaching work. I've seen this through 12-step, being a sponsor myself. Like I've seen this just through other men that I've mentored, is that most of the men that come to me are like, okay, I need to fix this. Like, how long is it going to be to fix this? Right. And then there's some sort of timeline or expectation in their head.
Yep.
It was, I mean, I did the same thing, man. Like when I went into therapy and 12-step and started all this stuff way back in the day, I remember walking in and I was talking to my therapist. I was like, okay, so you think like a good 3 to 6 months and we'll be good here? Like, just, heal me, right? Like, let's just work through all the problems.
Yeah. Right.
And as much as I don't see my therapist anymore, that's still been a 6.5, almost 7-year journey for me at this point, and I still haven't fixed everything. And that was a really big struggle too that I had, that I want to speak to everybody here for a second on this. So it was also a really big struggle when I decided to actually professionally become a coach as well, instead of just all the mentoring and coaching that I did, which was just earlier, this year, if you're watching live, 2024. If you're not watching live, maybe last year, depending on when this gets launched. But that was a big thing that I struggle with a lot, man, is that like, I know all the progress I've gone through. I know all the ways that I'm a healthier individual now. I know all the hard work that I've done, and I've done a lot. I'm near the top of the list as far as some of the crazy shit that I've done to try to like heal myself, because I've gone to some pretty extreme measures. And that's not to brag. It's to say that I'm still not there. So when I was starting a coaching business, I was like, who am I? Like, who am I to tell anybody else what to do about anything?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And the only thing, this is what I would say to everyone watching right now that is helping anyone. Maybe you're a dad and you have kids. Maybe you're helping your spouse. Maybe you're helping a friend. Maybe you're a mentor. Maybe I don't know. Maybe you're on the other side of this and you're trying to help your parents. Whoever it is and whoever's life you're trying to speak into, I want to encourage you with one thing. There's something unique about every single individual on this planet that has something to give to anybody. And if you are at this part in your journey, there will always be somebody that's right here that you can speak to. Always. Right? Because we're all at a different part in our journey. There's always somebody right here. 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 All the time. And what I constantly try to remind myself, like you said earlier about 12-step, Lawrence, is that if all I have to give as a coach is the experiences I've already been through, so that I can speak to the man that is going through the hardest time of my life. And it's like speaking to myself 7 years ago.
Yeah.
as much as I find those people that are going through the stuff that I've already gone through, it's not about me being smarter, wiser, more knowledgeable. It's just about the fact that I've been through it and I can help you through it, right? Like you said about sponsoring.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. No, I like the way you put that. And also maybe, respecting their journey. Everyone's journey, everyone, like you said, people are in different areas. And I look at it more like,
oh, that's so hard for me too, by the way. I'm gonna throw myself on the sword right now. Where like, if somebody doesn't feel like they're moving along very fast or they're really not taking it seriously, I'm like, dude, get your fucking life together. And then I have to remind myself that I had like 35 years of my life where I didn't get my fucking life together. So like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, that's our condition. That's for me, that's like conditioned to fix something. And the deeper issue, because of the way I've been conditioned to succeed and be the apex predator, is redemption when I fail. It's like I'm always looking for this. I mean, I was looking for it now and I don't do it anymore, but it's like this redemptive quality in the American male. I go to meetings and it's like, oh my God, I cheated on my wife and I'm doing this and I'm doing that and she's doing this. And it's like, and all they want is redemption, and so that we don't have to feel pain, right? And that we can come out the hero every single time. That's fucking bullshit, man. This is,
no pressure.
When we talk about like we love a comeback story, right? It's a good comeback story. It's always men about the comeback story. They failed and they're like coming back, and it's like, we love that. He's redeemed himself. That is like the fantasy, right? Everyone, because we all fail. We all have struggles. Men usually can't admit it, and women too. I mean, definitely. But men have this like propensity of deny. I can't, no one can see me at my lowest. When it's there to tell you that there are people that are going to uplift you, and you accept that word accept comes again. And then being able to accept the invitation and respect the other person's journey. Because most men will just go, yeah, fuck you. You're not, yeah, I don't need any help from you. Or thanks, sure. I needed to use you for this crutch, and now I can walk again. It's like people don't appreciate, I think, in general, that I see in recovery, that respecting the journey of the wife that you cheated on, or your partner that you cheated on, or whatever, respect that the feelings and all the things that come with it, that is their journey. And things will be revealed in their own time, but I don't get to control that. So I can imagine as a coach, it's like sometimes people would come to a coach and go, hey, I need to fix this, but they're not ready to fix it.
Right.
No, they need to feel better. They need to feel like I need to redeem myself, or I need to have the comeback, and I need to be stronger, but they're not ready for it. And as a coach, I would just go, yeah, it doesn't feel like you're ready for it. Maybe you should just wallow a little bit and find that humility and find the people that will lift you up, so that you can get to that place of awareness of like, oh yeah, I was really low. I was totally not ready for this. I'm not trained for this, but now I can feel that I am, and I can open myself and open my mind, respect people's journey who have helped me along the way, and respect my own journey and see that reveal come to me, right? More will be revealed. I love that.
Yeah, it's so true. And there's absolutely, obviously, no way to care about somebody's healing journey more than they care about themselves, right? And there's no way to help somebody along a healing journey that's not willing to actually be on the journey.
Right. Yeah.
100%. And, we have this idea, again, as men, that like we can't admit that we're going. The whole reason this podcast was started is that we, as men, like me and my buddy who started this podcast, were like, look, we have a hard time dealing with failures and struggles and stuff real time. Like it's difficult for us to admit that here, I'll just show you. So look at the mug that I'm using today. I mean, I chose this mug specific. Oh, here, Instagram. You get to see it as well. I chose this mug specifically for today because I knew we'd end up talking about this topic. And it's just so much easier for me to pretend like I have all my shit together than for me to actually go through this deep work. And I'm going to say something that's going to be a little controversial right now that I hope people hear. And I hope that there's one person that changes their action based on what I'm about to say. And that is, be very careful. If you are in a place where you feel like you want to heal, you want to go to the next level of yourself, the next level of your recovery, the next level of healing, whatever you want to call it, be really honest with yourself about what crutches you have in your life that are keeping you from doing that. So we've talked about a few in this episode. It could be the top 5 people you're hanging out with, or the top 5 people you're letting influence you. Mm-hmm. I remember I was dating this girl a few years ago. Girl. It always sounds weird when I say girl. Dating this lady. It's not dating a girl. Like, I have girls. That sounds weird. That's going to be a great clip for social media right there. So I was dating this lady a few years ago, and I remember her saying this to me, and I was at a point where, like, man, I was hanging out with this guy way too much, and we were smoking way too much weed and just, like, not even really living life, because I was just at a point where I just didn't care. This was really before I started getting into this stuff, so several years ago now. And I remember this lady saying, look, if you just keep hanging out with all these people, you're just going to keep doing drugs and, like, be a lazy pile and not actually go anywhere in your life. And I basically was like, fuck you. You don't know my life. And guess what? Kept hanging out with them, wasn't going anywhere in my life. It's amazing how that happens, right? But here's the thing that I was trying to get to that my ADHD brain didn't let me get to yet. Be very careful who the crutches are in your life. And here's one of the biggest ones I see right now. Therapy. Again, I'm a fan of therapy. Lawrence is a fan of therapy. I'm not against therapy. What I'm against is somebody who goes to therapy for 20 years to work on the same problem and never gets better. That's what that person is using therapy as a crutch to not actually heal, to not actually move forward in their life. The same thing can be used with 12-step groups. You know, one of my favorite just portrayals of 12-step groups at all that portrays this is the movie or the book Fight Club, if you've read it or seen it. And in that book/movie, the main character gets addicted to going to 12-step groups, which is just the most ironic, hilarious thing in the world to me, right? Like he's gone so far past all of these addictions that his actual addiction is being in addiction groups. Right?
It's real. It's real. Yeah.
And it is a real thing. So using these things as a crutch, just you won't move forward. I promise you. And I hope that there's one person listening to this right now that's like, maybe I should stop therapy, or maybe I should do a different type of therapy, or maybe I should get a coach. Maybe I should get somebody that can actually help me presently move forward, because that's where I see a lot of people having these issues and they don't mean to. It's not, yeah, it's just minimized.
Yeah.
It's like what I was told to do. People said that I need to go to therapy, whatever. Right. Well, man, that's really good stuff. I know we got to wrap up here in a second, but are there any kind of final words that you would say just to the men that we're speaking to right now, to the ones that, want help, don't know where to go? Any final words?
Well, I'm gonna comment on the crutch thing first.
Please do.
Because I have my own experience with that as well. And I totally understand and get what you're saying. It's like sometimes you're going to use a crutch for years, right? I was very passive in my therapy, and I would make up, I would show up, but I wouldn't really, it was more performative than anything else. But because I kept showing up, and this is the thing that I want to tell men in particular, maybe, is showing up is almost all of the journey. That's it. It's like, if you keep showing up, something will change. And it's not going to take someone to like drive a stake into you and go, hey, you're doing it all wrong. It's got to be from myself. It's got to be from you. And now my therapy, after almost 20 years of like being kind of passive and letting the therapist lead the thing, all of a sudden I'm leading it. I'm telling, hey, this is what really is matters to me. And so, yeah, maybe the crutch takes a little longer, but don't shame yourself for it. And it's like, just keep showing up. Just keep showing up. And 12-step recovery is the same way. Keep going to meetings. If you keep going to meetings, you're going to, it's like they say, it's like, don't leave before the miracle, happens. And sometimes that miracle is just in a phrase someone says. and changes your life completely. So my hope is that if people keep showing up, regardless of anything, power going out, so, or injury or whatever, it's like if you keep showing up, there's so many ways to show up. Keep showing up and your life will change.
I love that, Lawrence. I had a previous, not my current business coach, but a business coach that I had a few years ago. And she would often tell me this. And I thought it was really, really good. I didn't believe it at the time, but I eventually believed it. What she would always say to me is, when you get to the point where you want to quit coaching, that's the most important time for you to stay in because you're on the edge of a breakthrough. That's what she always used to tell me. And I found that to be true in a lot of areas of my life, whether that's working with a mentor, working with a coach, going to a 12-step program, etc. It seems like a lot of the times when I'm just like, okay, I've had enough of this, so like this isn't working or this isn't happening, etc. That seems to be the time where I'm on the edge of a breakthrough. That's been my experience. So I appreciate you saying that, because just showing up is half that battle. You know, if people that are listening to this and you want to get better for something, you need to go to, or you want to go to a 12-step group, or you want to get a sponsor, or you want to get a coach, reach out to me, reach out to Lawrence. I promise you, because that's been my experience as well, is that if it's going to be a little uncomfortable at first, but then at some point you'll be right on the edge of that breakthrough. And most people quit when that happens. Even think business, right? A lot of businesses quit a day, week, month before they just end up working.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of consistency and impatience and like, well, I thought that this should all work already, etc. Right? So yeah, that's good stuff, man. Really appreciate you. If anyone wants to get a hold of you, is there a preferred method?
Oh yeah. I mean, I've got my
Instagram or some other social media or what?
Yeah, I'll just do my email. I don't do social media anymore. So
I didn't think you did. I don't think I've ever seen you on social media. So all right, his email's in the chat. I'll include that in the show notes too. If you're not watching this live, go down, connect with Lawrence in the show notes.
Yeah.
And maybe just to wrap this up, man, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. I'm glad we figured out all the technical things and everything else. It's fun to do the first live. I am honored to do my very first live with you, Lawrence. Literally, when I was thinking about doing a live on my birthday, you were the only person that came to mind. You were literally the only person I wanted on here. So thank you for being here. Appreciate you.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you. And for everybody else as well, also check out the show notes. There will be information too if you want to schedule. I'm offering a free coaching calls right now. Jump on the phone with me for 30 minutes. It's $250 value. It's going to be worth your time. Let's talk about whatever popped up today, or reach out to Lawrence. Lawrence is just a fountain of wisdom from this man. So I appreciate you being here today. And as usual, please do me a favor, like and subscribe. If you liked the episode, hit the like button. If you're not on YouTube, go on YouTube, like and subscribe. We're getting to a point where I had a goal of the amount of video views I would get in 2024. I'm getting close, but there's only like 5 days left. So hopefully that happens. But also working on subscribers too. You guys subscribe. This is good stuff. It's going to come out every single week. It always has. You guys that watch it consistently, thank you so much. Thank you to all the current subscribers. I had 0 of you 9 months ago, and now we have in the hundreds. So thank you. Thank you for being here. All right, Lawrence. Appreciate you, man.
All right, Josh.
Until next time, we'll see you later, you derelicts.